There is a silent, pervasive, and heartbreaking epidemic occurring in the bedrooms of millions of couples right now, a tragedy that is rarely spoken about explicitly, but is felt deeply in the hollow silence that follows intimacy. It is the tragedy of the orgasm gap, but more specifically, it is the tragedy of the misaligned connection. You might be a man who prides himself on his stamina, his strength, and his dedication to his partner. You might be doing everything you have been told to do, by movies, by magazines, and by your own instincts. You put in the physical work, you sustain the effort, and you pour your energy into the act, believing that intensity and duration are the keys to unlocking her pleasure. Yet night after night, you notice the subtle signs of disconnection, the slight shifting of her body that signals discomfort rather than pleasure, the wandering eyes, or the devastating realization that she is performing pleasure rather than experiencing it. This is not just a physical failure, it is an emotional crushing blow that erodes the foundation of masculine confidence and feminine trust. When a woman is repeatedly brought to the edge of arousal but denied the release of a full, earth-shattering climax because the physical mechanics are slightly off, her body begins to encode intimacy as a source of frustration rather than relief. She starts to view sex as a duty, a performance she must endure for your sake, rather than a shared sanctuary of ecstasy. This creates a psychological wall between partners that no amount of talking can fix, because the problem isn't verbal, it is geometric. The devastating truth is that the standard model of intercourse, the one you see in pornography, and the one you likely default to, is biologically designed for reproduction, not for female gratification. By relying on linear thrusting and standard angles, you are effectively engaging in a physical act that bypasses the primary control center of her nervous system. You are running a marathon on a track that doesn't lead to the finish line. This leads to a state of sexual resignation for women, where they accept mediocrity as the norm, and a state of sexual anxiety for men, who feel like they are working harder and harder for diminishing returns. But what if I told you that the difference between a polite, forgettable encounter and a life-altering, soul-shaking climax is not about size, it is not about lasting an hour, and it is not about acrobatics. It is about a shift of mere inches. It is about understanding that the male pelvis and the female pelvis are like two puzzle pieces that have been forced together incorrectly for centuries. We are going to explore a technique today that corrects this error, a technique backed by sexologists and researchers, which aligns the anatomy so perfectly that 97% of women report not just reaching a climax, but experiencing one that is 3 times more intense and 4 times faster than anything they have felt before. To master this angle, we must first aggressively dismantle the anatomical lies you have been fed. Most men operate under the vaginal supremacy myth, the belief that the holy grail of female pleasure lies deep inside the vaginal canal. Consequently, they focus on depth, velocity, and in and out friction. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of human biology. The vagina itself is relatively poor in nerve endings, especially the deeper you go. It is designed to stretch and accommodate, not to sense acute detail. The true engine of female pleasure is the clitoral complex. Notice I did not say clitoris, I said clitoral complex. What you see on the outside, the small glands or button, is merely the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the surface, the clitoris is a massive structure. It has crura, or legs that wishbone back along the pelvic bone, and vestibular bulbs that wrap around the vaginal opening. This entire network is anchored to the pubic bone. When you engage in standard missionary sex, your pelvis is usually level with hers, or you are propping yourself up on your hands, creating a gap between your bodies. In this position, the penis moves in and out, creating friction against the internal walls. But, and this is the critical failure, your pubic bone is banging against nothing, or worse, it is hitting her soft tissue in a way that provides no stimulation. You are stimulating the void. You are bypassing 90% of the nerve structure that is responsible for the orgasm. The angle we are discussing, scientifically known as the coital alignment technique, CAT, flips this script entirely. It recognizes that the clitoral complex is a pressure-sensitive organ, not just a friction-sensitive one. It requires the male pubic bone to act as a steady, rhythmic pressure plate against the female mons pubis. When you align your bone directly over hers, you are essentially sandwiching the entire clitoral complex between two solid structures. This traps the blood flow, heightens the sensitivity, and stimulates the internal crura and bulbs simultaneously. It transforms the act from poking to grinding, and that shift in physics is what unlocks the rapid, high-intensity response we are looking for. Let us get into the granular details of the geometry. The standard missionary position is a low ride. Your hips are low, your knees are doing the work, and your vector of force is horizontal. To execute the cat, or the high pelvic ride, you must move your entire body upward. You need to slide your body up along hers until your chest is level with her shoulders and neck area. Your pelvis should not be meeting hers head-on. It should be riding above hers. The base of your penis, the dorsal side, should be pressing firmly against her clitoris. You are essentially mounting her pelvis with yours. This feels counterintuitive to most men because it feels like you are slipping out or not penetrating as deeply. You must ignore that feeling. The goal here is not deep penetration. The goal is complete connection of the external genitalia. Imagine your pelvis is a heavy stone. You want to rest the weight of that stone directly onto her pelvic bone. This contact point is the fulcrum. Once you have established this high position, the angle dictates that you stop thrusting. I repeat, stop thrusting. The linear, piston-like motion breaks the contact between your pubic bone and her clitoris every time you pull back. Instead of thrusting, you must initiate a grinding, rocking, or sawing motion. Think of it as trying to iron a shirt with your pelvis. You are applying downward pressure and moving in small, controlled circles or up and down slides, never lifting the iron off the board. This constant contact ensures that the stimulation is continuous. In standard sex, the stimulation is intermittent, on-off, on-off. In the high right angle, the stimulation is constant, on. This creates a summation effect in her nervous system, where excitement builds vertically without dropping off, leading to that 4x faster climax. We are about to discuss the critical role of counterpressure and the specific leg-locking mechanism that makes this technique fail-proof. But before we do, I need to pause. The information we are breaking down here is not just tips and tricks. It is a fundamental re-education of sexual dynamics that most men go their entire lives without learning. We are dedicated to researching the deep science of intimacy, the psychology of attraction, and the mechanics of pleasure to help you become the most competent version of yourself. If you want to ensure you never miss these deep dives, analyses that can save relationships and transform your confidence, then you need to be subscribed to this channel. Do not let this be a one-time lesson. Commit to the mastery of this subject. Click that button now so we can continue to build this knowledge base together. Now, let's look at the leg lock and why her participation is non-negotiable. A major reason why men fail at this angle is that they try to do all the work alone. They slide up, try to grind, get tired, slip, and revert to thrusting. For the high pelvic ride to work, it must be a cooperative structural alignment. The woman cannot lie flat and passive. She must wrap her legs, not around your waist, but around your thighs or calves. By wrapping her legs lower on your body, she creates a lever. This action naturally tilts her pelvis upward, anterior pelvic tilt, exposing the clitoral complex and meeting your pressure. It stabilizes your hips so you don't slide around. This is the anchor. Furthermore, she must provide counter pressure. As you grind downward and forward against her mons pubis, she must push her pelvis upward against yours. This creates a pressure sandwich. The clitoris is caught in the middle of these two opposing forces. This opposition is where the magic happens. It allows you to relax your lower back muscles because you aren't holding your weight up entirely. You are leaning into her structure. If the anatomy requires it, or if there is a significant height difference, introducing a firm pillow under her hips is not cheating, it is engineering. A pillow accentuates her pelvic tilt, making the target area more accessible and allowing you to ride high without straining your shoulders. This setup transforms the bed into a platform for leverage. You are no longer fighting gravity, you are using it. The sensation for her changes from, "Something is happening inside me," to "My entire body is being electrified from this one pressure point." We must now address the invisible wire that connects the physical angle to the emotional climax, the neurological synchronization. When you are in the high ride position, your faces are aligned. You are mere inches apart. This forces a level of intimacy that can be intense and overwhelming. Standard positions allow you to look at her body, but this angle forces you to look into her soul. This is functional. When a woman feels completely seen and enveloped by your presence, her amygdala, the fear and anxiety center of the brain, deactivates. For a woman to climax, specifically to climax hard and fast, she needs to feel safe enough to completely surrender control. The physical weight of your body on hers, combined with the eye contact and the shared breath, signals to her primal brain that you are the dominant protective force. You must synchronize your breathing. Deep, slow breaths. Do not pant. If you pant, you signal panic and rush. If you breathe deeply, you signal control and endurance. As the sensations build, the tendency for men is to speed up. You must fight this instinct. As she gets closer to the edge, the nerves become hypersensitive. Fast, friction-heavy movement at this stage can actually be painful or overstimulating in a bad way. Instead, as she approaches the peak, you must maintain the pressure but perhaps slow the rhythm. Grind deeper, not faster. Press harder, not quicker. You are the rock she is breaking against. This stability allows her to let go. She doesn't have to chase the orgasm. She just has to fall into it. The climax achieved through this pressure-based, high-angle technique is often described as whole body or status epilepticus because it triggers the deep pelvic nerves, pudendal nerve, rather than just the surface nerves. It is a heavier, deeper release that leaves her trembling, not just satisfied. Implementing this tonight requires patience. You will likely slip. You will likely feel awkward finding the spot. That is normal. Do not abandon the technique the moment it feels difficult. Start with standard intimacy to build arousal, and then, consciously and deliberately, make the shift. Slide up. Communicate with her. I want to try something different. I want to feel you more. Ask her to wrap her legs around your calves. Adjust your weight. Find the bone-on-bone contact. Once you lock it in, commit to the grind for at least 5 minutes without reverting to thrusting. Give her nervous system time to recalibrate from expecting friction to receiving pressure. Remember, the goal is not to hammer a nail, it is to start a fire. Friction creates heat on the surface. Pressure creates heat at the core. By mastering this angle, you are not just changing the way you have sex, you are changing the dynamic of your relationship. You are showing her that you understand her body better than she thought possible. You are moving from a selfish, phallocentric approach to a shared, clitocentric approach that honors her biology. This is how you become not just a lover, but a master of intimacy. The 97% statistic is not an exaggeration. It is a reflection of biology finally being respected. Go forth, apply the geometry, maintain the pressure, and witness the transformation. We have dismantled the myths. We have mapped the anatomy. And we have handed you the geometric blueprint that separates the amateur from the master. But understand this, knowing the path is not the same as walking the path. The information I have given you today is simply potential energy. It means absolutely nothing until you bring it into the bedroom and apply it with patience, with confidence, and with the intent to connect. Most men will watch this, nod their heads, and go back to doing exactly what they have always done. Relying on friction, rushing the process, and accepting mediocrity. Do not be that man. Do not let your ego prevent you from evolving. The angle is not just a position, it is a philosophy. It is the understanding that true pleasure is not taken. It is cultivated through pressure, presence, and alignment. You now possess the knowledge that 97% of men ignore. The question is, do you have the discipline to use it? If this analysis opened your eyes to a mechanic you have been missing, if it challenged what you thought you knew about female satisfaction, then make sure you are subscribed. We are building a community of men who refuse to settle for average in any aspect of life. Like this video to signal your commitment to mastery. Go home, adjust the angle, apply the pressure, and change the dynamic forever. We will see you in the next deep dive.